Welcome back to another episode of titillating, exciting, nuanced discussion of parenthood and all the foils and no, that's the wrong word. Failures and foibles, that's what I was trying to say, of being a parent. Welcome back to another episode of A Guide to Poor Parenting, a podcast where me, Jason.
And me, Jennifer.
Have a few drinks.
And talk shit about our kids.
One of these days I'm going to get this script down right, but I'm not there yet.
That's okay.
If you have Twitter or Instagram, please follow us on Guide to Poor Parenting. On both those, we're not tweeting much yet, but we're going to start cranking out material, hopefully. Miss Jennifer, you want to talk about what we're drinking?
Mm-hmm. We're having Costco margarita mix today.
This is the agave wine, I think.
Yeah, it's very nice and smooth. We've had the strawberry before, and today we've got just the original.
That's right. So when we were picking it out, I was like, what would my mom like? Because I know she likes margarita. I didn't want to have to make anything fancy. So, Miss Jennifer, how's your week been?
It's been good. Trunk or treating with the kids was fun.
So for our the three people that listen to our podcast, we're recording in the middle of spooky season.
Yeah, yay for spooky season.
So my mom took out Kalia to go get a costume.
She
took her out with a gun.
Took her out, yeah.
Took her out backyard and shot her. No, she took her to go get a costume, and Saturday, and it was funny because I went with them, and Kalia was like, oh, she couldn't find a blood-drenched angel, I think is what she wanted. And then she picked out something else, and I was like, well, Kalia, that's really cool, but it's got makeup on it, and I can't do that very well. And so she put it back, and then she found the cheapest costume in the shop. It was a witch costume. But she wanted this light-up staff.
From Maleficent.
Descendants, I think.
Yeah, she told me it was Maleficent.
Yeah, it's Maleficent staff.
So
I asked Mom, and she's like, well, I'm paying for it, so it's okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, Wesley wanted a $35 outfit, and I was like, baby, can we try to see if we can find a $25 one? Because you're only wearing it, well, this time he's only wearing it twice, but I was like, how about this? No, I don't want that. And then we were looking, and it was the majority of them were 35. I was like, okay, well, you can get 35. And so he started looking for Fortnite stuff, and he wanted it just for a belt. It's like, buddy, if you want it just for a belt, I'm not going to get that for you. I want to get something that you would like the whole ensemble, not just the belt. And then he found Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was $20. I was like, I was like, are you sure? It's like, I'll do the 35. That's fine. No, Mom, it's okay. I'll do Spider-Man. And then we found Black Panther, and I was like, well, Black Panther has a mask that you can kind of put on top of your head instead of a full mask. It goes over the back of his head and hooks up in the back.
It's like a little condom for your head.
Right. And I was like, baby, you sure you want a whole mask? Because it's going to be dark. Yes, that's what I want, Mom. I was like, okay. So I have a Spider-Man this year.
Well, and we took him trunk or treating yesterday, and
how'd that go?
It went fine, but he wore a jacket over his costume the entire time and wouldn't take it off.
Yeah.
So when we went back to the trunk or treat because I had a little haunted house for kids, and I was looking at him, I was like, so you don't like your costume? He's like, no, I like it. I was like, buddy, you're covering it completely up and you don't want to wear your mask. He's like, well, it just doesn't fit. I was like, buddy, it's just the ankles are showing a little bit, but you're going to be pitch black. No one's going to see your ankles.
And we'll wear pants on actual Halloween. I mean, he's just too tall. I mean, I told him it's probably the last time we can buy him a youth costume because he's just getting too tall. Tall and skinny, just like his mama.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
It's just like Uncle Justin.
Well, Uncle Justin's not that tall.
Well, now that we talked about our week, let's introduce our esteemed guest. After much torture and pulling of teeth and blackmailing, she decided to finally come on the podcast. So everybody welcome my mom, Miss Ruth.
Hi, Mama Ruth.
Hi, Mom. Say hi to all 4 of our listeners. Thank you so much.
Wasn't that much torture.
A lot of begging.
My memory is so bad, I didn't think I could think of any good. But I'll tell some, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I'll help you remember some. It was just funny because Jennifer and Zane and I were all driving to the grocery store this morning, and I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, is there anybody, would you come over and do the podcast? She's like, oh, your friend wouldn't do it? She's like, well, we couldn't get a hold of her. She's like, okay. I was like, if you don't want to. She's like, well, I don't, but I'll do it. I'm like, all right, good enough. She said yes.
She's coming. Doesn't
She's
matter
coming,
if
whatever.
she wants to or not. She's coming over.
So thank you again for coming,
You may
Mom.
be sorry before this is all over.
Nah, never.
We always have a good time. Usually everybody who comes on, like, either people are nervous because they're like going to say something bad, or they feel like they're performing, or they're I don't know. Like Sandra said the same thing. She was nervous, but afterwards she's like, I had a blast.
I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
Don't know what to expect.
Yeah. We're just going to talk about being parents.
Yep.
And how we've all screwed up.
Yep.
Because I know I screw up all the time.
don't
Well, let's
know.
start from the beginning. So I am actually your second child. I'm the youngest of two you have. So you and Dad were married when? 68?
But I had been trying to get pregnant for about 2 to doctor.
Did they identify the issue? Was it you or was it Dad?
Well, Dad had a low sperm count.
Yeah.
They told us may or may not.
Yeah.
So I was ready to be a parent. It's adopted.
And how was Dad with that idea?
Huh?
Was Dad on board with it?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, the reason I ask is like I've known some people, some married couples where the husband's like, no, I can't adopt. A cousin of mine, that I won't name names, the husband expressed not willing to adopt. Yeah, so.
Well, your dad was fine with it. We adopted. Really didn't.
Was it
That of the Pelgian faith.
like, nowadays, like, infant adoption is hella expensive. Was it expensive for y'all? Really? Well,
Well, it cost him.
was abortion legal at that point? Was abortion legal at that point?
No.
No. Okay, so there's probably a lot of babies being given up because mom
Yeah.
couldn't get abortions. So,
Anyway, it's a darling baby. I love that part. Probably my favorite part is when y'all were babies.
yeah.
How old was he when you adopted him?
Well, he actually came to the house.
And they tried to match a child that would look like he was biologically related to y'all?
Yes.
Because Kyle was a bright redhead. My brother was a bright redhead as a baby, and he faded to what he is, like a dirty blonde now. But
My husband, your dad was a redhead. They felt that man.
Huh.
was the trend back then to not tell the children they were adopted?
I think most parents. But they didn't remember them advising.
And y'all told Kyle pretty quickly.
We told him.
Okay.
And of course, he didn't understand what it meant. He was older.
Yeah.
But I didn't want him to grow up thinking.
Yeah.
Or it's natural.
So it was I was just gonna say it was a quick and relatively inexpensive process.
We had him. They had him in the house. Come out in 3 months. Adoption became.
And y'all had did y'all have to do the home study and all that stuff? Because I think that's a chunk of the expense nowadays. To do a private adoption home study. Because when Jennifer and Zane and I all did ours, the state took care of it because we were adopting out of foster care. Not expensive, but I think if we'd had to hire a social worker, it'd probably been like several thousand to done. Amazing, it was so cheap. Okay, so you got him in 70.
I went back to work. I went back.
And this was
part-time
74.
So I went back to work part-time for at least a year and a half, full-time. And about 4 years later, really stressful job situation, in charge of a big, and I remember it so well. I got pregnant. I found out I was.
Well, it was obvious surprise, but didn't Dad was the one who figured it out because something smelled wrong, or
Well, we went to dinner at a herb with a group of friends from work.
a what farm?
An herb farm.
Herb. Okay, I've never heard of. I mean, I guess it makes sense that herbs come from farms, but I've just never heard.
Gourmet dinner.
Oh, okay.
It made me sick. Be pregnant. And everybody laughed it off. It turned out I was. But surprised in 77.
Was I a pretty easy pregnancy?
Huh?
Was I a pretty easy pregnancy?
A very easy pregnancy. And birth.
Tell the story about the. So I'm a Christmas baby for all three people listening, and
My family always had a big Christmas party or get together
on Christmas Eve.
Christmas night. We were all over at my sister's house celebrating, opening presents, and I had thought earlier in the day that I was not feeling on my back. So I was wondering if I was in labor, but I didn't really know for sure until about 6 or 7 o'clock. My family started timing the
The contractions.
contraction, and I guess it was about 10 o'clock. We went in. So we left Kyle with one of my sons at the hospital. Really easy birth.
Did you have an
I
epidural?
had a natural.
Oh, no epidural? Yeah. Were they giving those out back then? Or was there such a thing? Oh, wow, it's amazing.
But I think that'd be something nasty. You were a big baby. And
Oh, do you remember I
born
was-
about 6 o'clock.
Did you remember, I was like 8 pounds, wasn't I? And then my giant head, I'm sure that felt great.
I don't remember painful. I guess most of them forget that.
As soon as you see the baby, they say that you forget all the pain.
Yeah.
Well, they must, because they keep coming back. And like
Right.
those poor, well, I say poor women, slightly mentally unstable women have like 10, 12 babies. And I'm like, oh, poor body. How can you do that to yourself?
But anyway, we were a happy little family there.
Did y'all decide to, did either of you, or did you or Dad decide to get sterilized after that? Or
Yeah, Dad.
didn't want to, because you had me at 35, didn't you?
Yeah, I was 35 by then.
Yeah, that would. Back in the 70s, I'd be a little bit scared to be having babies into my late 30s, early 40s too.
Right.
We didn't want a chance at
They call them geriatric pregnancies nowadays. Called it back in the 70s. They were probably worried for you, were they? Was the doctor, because you were any...
Didn't be worried.
No?
I was
No.
healthy, hadn't been pregnant.
No preeclampsia or anything. And she was, I don't know what you look like at the time or near my birth, but we have pictures of her after Mom and Dad got married in Hawaii and a twig. She is so skinny. And I was like, were you about that? I mean, that picture of, I know the bikini, you were just like model thin.
Well, it didn't last too much longer. After I had you for sure.
Ruined your body. Kyle, I ruined your mind after that. Well, I'm glad we weren't too bad. How did Kyle handle my birth? Was he excited about having a brother?
I'm excited. Okay, but
Okay.
No, you were having a boy, or were you just
no,
surprised?
we did not know what sex.
Did they do ultrasounds back then? The idea, like, I'm not a woman, but the idea of having a baby, like, in the 70s and 60s sounds so scary, because they're so dangerous even still today, but I'm just like, how did y'all do it? And, well, I mean,
Bad, you know, it was really bad for Nelda, my sister.
yeah, she almost died twice.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she just didn't have the hips to give birth, and they forced her to spit
Oh,
out 2
vaginally.
babies, and it just ripped her internally. She spent like months in the hospital after that for both of them. Mom had to move out to California to take care of my cousin, the first baby, after the second baby was born, because it just almost killed her. So I was like,
I
ugh.
had to drop out. But that was my first baby Eric.
How old were you?
And I claimed him as my baby till he got
Sounds like Jennifer and her brother. You were like 20 or 19?
my
You
second.
had to drive all the way from Houston to California to go take care of her sister.
No, I didn't drive. I rode a bus.
Oh, okay. Well,
Even worse.
Worse.
well, I just meant like you
Yeah.
couldn't fly, so the things you do. What I remember. So for I'm gonna do a little exposition. My mom doesn't think she's all that special, but she actually worked on the Apollo missions at NASA and was a programmer. Probably at NASA, probably like 5-6 years after the Hidden Figures women, and probably one of the only female programmers there.
Several, a lot.
And I always brag on her about it, but she's like, it's not that special. I didn't do anything all that. I was like, yes, you did. It's amazing.
Well, you did part of the program was special, but you didn't feel it so much then as you, after the moon landing. Then you felt, oh, wow, that was part of so big.
Well, I mean, not just moon landing, but just being a woman in that environment. I guess, was computer science as much of a man's job back then? Because, I mean, like, nowadays, it's pretty male-dominated. And I know they have some problems getting women in.
Mostly men, but, you know, they were after math. Not a lot of, you didn't usually graduate with a degree in science. So they looked for math out of college. That's how most of the programs on the job broke.
Training.
Large
Would you remember what you were programming? Was it assembly or
training.
portraiting?
I did some assembly.
These are very
In
old
fact, that was,
programming languages.
that was one of the reasons everybody knew me around there. A software package we were working on so slow, painful. And every time you had to make a change to the program, we dealt with decks of cards, and they were a key punch. You'd have to submit this tray of cards, send it over by courier, all the courier, and wait overnight to run back, debug it.
Sounds
But
very
I
tedious.
had figured out why the program was so slow, and it required assembly language programming, and not very many people knew how to do it. Anyway, I speeded it up like 100-fold.
Wow.
Awesome.
So everybody was real proud of me.
I'm
Got
proud
an
of you.
award for that.
Heck yeah. So after I was born, did you go back to full-time work at NASA? To Lockheed?
Not for a while. Part-time first. We had a babysitter friend called both.
Is that Miss
Miss
Clardy?
Clardy.
Yeah. Was she the one that took me to the beach without the sunscreen?
No.
No, that was a little young lady.
The neighbor, after we lost the neighbors across the street, started watching 2 or 3.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but you've told the story enough. So I'm a ginger. Babysitter took me and my brother out to Galveston, Corpus Christi, with no sunscreen. And came back, I was just covered in blue.
There were several times in your young life where I was, when I saw him, blistered, talking about feeling like a bad mom.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I feel the pain now because when Kalia will have something, I'm like, should I do something? I'm not sure what to do, and then it gets worse, and you're like, oh god damn it, I should have done something about it.
The other time where I felt a cry, I ended up crying with her sick. A trip to
yeah.
we drove from Houston to
Orlando.
Florida, and on the drive, we'd go into a restaurant. It announced to everybody that, well, I've got chicken pox. And Dad and I were trying to hide our heads.
I mean, it's a good thing I didn't do it at Disney World because they would have, like nowadays, they kick you out if they spy out children who haven't and kick them out.
We should.
Yeah.
We gave in because you cried so much, and went ahead and took you anyway.
How old was I? I was like 6 or 7, wasn't it? No, if it was
4.
I thought it was. I thought we'd moved to Austin already. No. Okay, I don't. It's Kyle.
That's about my memory,
Yeah. My bad memory comes from her.
Well, I guess you
I would have been in
chicken.
Yeah, I would have been in Austin by then.
Because I've been in preschool. I just don't remember.
Because I remember it. That one I remember somewhat clearly, but I barely have any memory of Houston. Because we moved from Houston to Austin when I was like 3 or 4, somewhere in there. But I don't remember. I had only little tiny flashes. But I pretty distinctly remember the Disney World trip. Not super clear, but it's like I can remember being in the.
It's probably because you've heard it.
No, I when we got there. Remember, you got the stroller thing. It was like the 2-kid stroller, and I sit in the back, and Kyle sat up front. And I remember having a one of the chickenpox sores right on my underwear line, and it was hurting really bad.
And the next day we go.
Yeah, but I
cried.
Yeah, it was pretty miserable. And then on the way back, Kyle got it.
Both cried.
Oh,
Yeah.
goodness.
So,
Yeah, only home Kyle got.
disease vectors that children are.
But you made me in all the program and sunflower say they did. What was that called?
We have pictures of me.
Bumblebee.
Yeah, I have pictures of me in angel costumes and stuff. This horrible mess.
Like us a
Preteen is always the best.
Oh, yeah. Well, babies.
Preschool.
Oh, Lord. So after we moved to Austin in probably 80, 81, right when Jennifer was born.
Yep.
Were you back at full-time with Lockheed by then?
Yeah.
And you stayed full-time with them until Kyle was in middle school, early high school, and then you went back for your master?
Kyle was having so many problems, stressed out, trying to
Help
get
him.
Kyle straightened out, and hold down a full-time job.
Oh, was it only a year? I thought it was longer. Is that when you
But I
did it?
went back and got my master's.
Oh, okay.
Talk about stress. I mean, that in itself, going back to school to get your master's is stressful, right?
In some ways, but Kyle had finally put Kyle in San
It
Juan.
was a military.
And that's where the school was, so it gave me a chance to see him more often.
Okay.
As well as go to classes.
How far away was that place from Austin?
30, 45 minutes.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad. It's actually, what's funny is that the school was San Marcos Baptist Academy, the military boarding school, but Lindsay went there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So her parents worked for Saudi Aramco in Saudi Arabia, but they didn't have a high school for kids. They had elementary and junior high. So when it got to high school, most San Marcos.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Lindsay went there.
So it's a school.
It's a boarding school, yeah.
Okay.
But Kyle had undiagnosed. I don't think they had come up with a diagnosis yet of AD.
No.
And it was just-
They did. He was about 15 when he was diagnosed.
Okay.
15.
And all they have is, do they have medication?
Previously, they said rebellious teenager, but he actually, and he was put on Ritalin, and his marked grade
Yep.
shot up. But then he didn't like the reaction coming down.
Did he say it just made him tired, or remember?
He got headache, fever, and awful.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Because I was kind of oblivious to what was going on. I remember y'all had a lot of problems with it, didn't know what was happening, the treatment or whatnot. So Because I would have been in junior high, or so that time was a little fuzzy.
Your memory of last week is a little fuzzy.
Memories
So
of those days were definitely bad parenting. You feel like you're bad parent. You don't know how to handle the situation.
Well, it doesn't
You
help.
always feel like you're doing the wrong thing.
It doesn't help when you want to take them as valid reasons. Your head hurt. It doesn't help.
It's,
But
again,
I was a bad parent.
no,
Because I would yell at him.
But I hate to say it, but there are a lot of people in your same boat who probably would have beat the crap out of their kids. And you spanked us, but you weren't leaving bruises. You weren't using the belt to whip us bloody like that. So, kids, had it just been, any other parent, they would have handled it much more forcefully. And I don't think I think the consequences have probably been worse.
Yeah.
So, I think that's just part of parenting. You're always regretting your choices.
But I don't tend to panic situation like your finger or thumb in the car door.
Have I told you that story, Jay? So we had a custom van growing up. We had a series of custom vans. Because we would drive up to our lake house. And so the van back door.
That slides.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it had a post in between the back door and the front door. And I was getting in, and I put my hand on the post, and Mom was getting in the front door, and she slammed it on my hand. And I fell into the back, cradling my hand, crying, and Mom crawled on top of me and ripped, and Dad was like, "What's going on?" And she ripped my hand out from under me, and she was like, "I hit the door and shook my hand."
I had to see it.
You had to make sure it was still there, right?
It's okay, Mom.
You didn't do it on purpose. And I'm sure he knew that you didn't do it on purpose.
But I tend to panic when things like that. And the other time I panicked when you were a baby and swallowed a gumball.
Oh, yeah.
Got stuck in.
Luckily, her friend thought quick and picked me up, turned me upside down, slapped my back, popped it out. Did you panic when I pulled the bookcase down on my foot?
Well, I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
That was the baby when that happened.
Did I tell you about that one, Jay?
Yeah, because you had that scar on your ankle from.
I must have been 2 or 3 when that happened. We had a bookcase that was cabinets on the bottom and a bookcase up top, but the bookcase wasn't nailed down. And so Mom and Dad put my Halloween pumpkin on top, I think is what I was after, and I climbed the bookcase.
It just fell.
And it fell back on top of me. I'm lucky it didn't take my foot off, because it hit a very opportune spot to have done it. But
It looked like it torn open. I got to the hospital. The baby took him. He survived it. He was a climber. It was not the only time he climbed out of his crib.
Oh, he was that child, huh?
always adventurous. What can I say? So when I remember how you reacted. How did Dad handle the stress of
Dad knew how to calm the situation down and me down. I'm sure I
He
frustrated.
loved the hell, so I'm sure he was happy to do it. Did he have any was I don't know, I was gonna ask a question, just blinked on
He
me.
was just a calm, cool, collected guy. He was smart.
Yeah, he wasn't
He didn't let things
fluster him.
fluster. He would think through. He was a thinker.
Oh yeah, I remember Dad. He was always that's the one thing I do regret most about my teenage years. It's just I had a bad tendency to just think I knew everything, and so Dad always had really good advice. But now I think I was like, God damn it, he was probably the smartest person I have ever met, and I just blew off his advice because I'm too stupid and fucking.
Call both.
But that's all teenagers. Isn't that the thing?
Yeah.
It's just life.
But it's frustrating though. I think about it now, and it's not only that because it was rude too.
I'm sure he understands.
He was my dad when he was in his teens. Him and his sister, my Aunt Nancy, calculated the mass that the star would have to be. It started sucking back light into itself and wrote it into science.
Oh, okay.
And he did this in his teens. So
okay.
he was not. He was. I don't think he was ever rude or. He just was always. Damn, he was so calm and collected his entire life. I saw him lose his temper a few times, but not much.
So was Dad? Were you the disciplinarian, Mama Ruth, or was Dad? Did you ever say,
Mostly
wait
me.
till your dad gets home kind of thing?
No.
A little bit. He spanked us a few times, but yeah, you were usually the one who.
I was one there more,
Yeah.
and I didn't wait for.
I got it. There was none of that.
That's right. I'm gonna go get that breadboard and spank the shit out of you.
That wooden spoon with the holes for the air, right?
No, we had this
I had a breadboard.
Yeah, it was probably like maybe 6 inches by a foot. It kind of looked like a little charcuterie board almost with a handle on it. But yeah, that was her preferred.
Made a good paddle.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
Although
I just remember, I think I overused with Kyle. He had run up a telephone,
The
call into those
1-800 sex lines, yeah.
those sex lines.
Yeah.
And it costs like I don't know how much it cost, but the telephone bill was $500.
Back in 1980 something, yeah.
So he got in a lot of trouble.
How
And I think I may have paddled when I got that bill. But I said, if this happens again, you're getting 2 swats for every time you make one of those calls. Well, the next bill I got, I about had to kill him.
How old was he?
He
He was a teenager, I think.
Yeah.
He was probably.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I thought he was older. Wow. Because he did that after when he went.
Well, maybe.
Because I
don't
didn't.
think I was still paddling as a teenager.
Yeah. No, I don't think. Because I remember it when he got his own apartment. When he had that apartment, he ran up a huge bill, thousands of dollars on sex lines. But it was under his name. Like, well,
I'm not paying for it.
yeah.
Wow.
But I didn't realize he'd done it at home too. I mean, what's funny is that it just reminds me so much of my little brothers, Matt and John. Well, not John so much, but Matt, because he would just like steal mom's credit card and rack up hundreds of dollars of debt on like Xbox crap. So I was like, oh, good times. So I was about to say we should have gotten you and Gwen on here. Y'all could have compared notes to your ADHD children. I mean, it's like I understand the sensation of the idea, but like the sense of like I'm being a bad parent, but oh my god, going to these support group things we go to every week and seeing, because most foster kids have ADHD or some sort of form of it, and they just have so little self-control. Like you just see the feet in all the parents' faces, just like I'm about to rip my hair out because my son did this or my daughter, lied about this.
But it still makes you thinking back about how you handle things, not knowing the problems they have in their way of thinking. How bad I was at handling some of them.
Well, you did the best that you could, though. I mean, looking back on any situation, say, oh, I should have done X, Y, and Z, but, you don't think about that when you're living in that moment.
No.
And you get stressed.
People were telling me their value.
Right.
And I will say that you've always beaten yourself up over past mistakes. That it's like I this is something you've always done, ruminate over stuff in the past. I think you at this point in stage of your life, forgive yourself because it's like it's in the past. We love you, both Kyle and I. Despite our foibles and flaws, we love the shit out of you.
And I love you too, but you're not my real mama, but I still love you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll adopt you.
Oh, okay. You'll put me in the will? Yay.
Now wait a minute, what? No. Hang on a second here.
I'll be the daughter you never had.
There you go.
You always wanted, but never had.
Lord. So how's it been being, I realize the circumstances are very different, but has been being a grandmother and great-grandmother fun?
Yeah, only been a few months. I've been around very much, but I've enjoyed spending more time with.
She adores you.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. And even Justin, as gruff and quiet as he, everybody in his house.
Yep.
Do you have any parenting advice for us to move forward? Or things to watch out for?
Phone bills.
Yeah, phone bills.
Did you?
Keep your credit cards handy.
Hide the liquor.
And the money.
Yeah.
Did y'all have any problem? Like, y'all didn't keep liquor or alcohol in the house much. Was that because of Kyle, or did y'all never drank that much?
Some of the time when we went out, started.
When Kyle was a teenager, I know the telephone bill.
No, I don't. Y'all, I think Denver is when y'all started drinking wine more often.
Being around Nancy.
Your younger, dad's youngest.
She always had to have wine.
Well, she was living in California for years, for almost 30 years. Always around California.
But everywhere we went, everywhere we lived, they would come to some friends. I remember having parties, sit around, drink.
Yeah, I don't remember.
That's probably the way we were both raised more than anything. Deadly sin to drink.
Well, I know Dad's mom was pretty religious. Your mom?
It's not like your dad's.
She wasn't.
In that preaching all.
She wasn't very evangelical.
We were every Sunday and Wednesday, and there was no no debate on that. We went to church. But she didn't preach at us.
Yeah, like Grandma Minter. I remember Grandma Minter would, every time we went to visit her during the summer, Vacation Bible School. And what's funny is that she lived in this tiny little town in Telcasa. People would have itty bitty little church, and we would go to Vacation Bible School with like three kids that lived in the whole town.
Oh, wow.
And the pastor, like I remember him, was kind of a boisterous, nice guy. But my dad's second eldest sister died. No, my dad's eldest sister died probably about 7 years ago. Carolyn and Chana died. Was it 7 years? I think it was after. Anyway, I went to her funeral, and this man showed up at the funeral, and he's like, "Do you remember me? I'm familiar." He's like, "Mister, it's your Vacation Bible School." I was like, "Wow, you remember me? That's impressive."
Well, there was only 3 kids, so
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm sure Mrs. Minter was always there because she was super involved in that church. It was when you
mother was. She was.
Yeah.
She was, and I love our social life.
And you raised
I
two.
don't know how that happened.
Did you know her mom?
She died when I was like 2 or 1 or something like that. She had
I wasn't sure if you had.
Yeah, she had Parkinson's at the end of her life, and there's pictures of me like sitting next to her, and Mom said that my brother was scared of her because the Parkinson's like kind of curled her up. It was really not deformed, but like really affected by it. Yeah. But Mom said that I was. What you said I was?
You were the love of. You've always been such a kid.
An adult.
Y'all gonna ruin my reputation. Hush.
I don't care about your reputation.
But he was only.
I was born at the end of.
She died at the day of Thanksgiving.
Okay, so I would have been close
wow.
to. And then my dad's mom, she died when I was in her 7. No, I called her Grandma.
Oh, okay.
I just try to distinguish her. If I call everybody Grandma, how are you going to know? Because I didn't.
Well, you didn't know the other one, so you didn't have a name for her. So.
Grandma Ramsey.
Okay.
I didn't really
Well, because everybody has their own names for, and I didn't
That's
know
true.
if y'all were close, because if y'all weren't really close, so.
No, I just.
Grandma Ramsey was my grandma.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, but my
We
grandma.
called her
Oh,
Mom.
she would have been
We
Grandma
called
Graves because that was her married name. Sorry.
Mama. We always like grandma, Mama and Papa. 33 grand.
Ooh.
They had 10 children, and each of the kids had like
lots
3 or
of
4.
kids. It's gracious.
Well, Mom's sisters, Glenda has 4. You have 2, and Nelda has, and Eugene has 1. And then my dad's side of the family had, Nancy had 1, Chana had, we were
Pretty big
lots
family.
Lots of childrens.
Yeah.
Mom and Dad were both second youngest of 4. No, is that right? You were second youngest of
5.
5. Yeah, Dad was second youngest.
But with her having you later in life, you were kind of the youngest.
Yeah,
out
of the
all
cousins.
those
Yeah, I was
cousins,
the
right?
absolute youngest of all the cousins. Well, with the exception of Kelly on my dad's side. Yeah, but Kelly was out in California, and we rarely saw her. We would go see her out in California, but like if we had like some in state with, and on my mom's side, there's a lot more cousins. I am the absolute baby, the next youngest one than I am. It's Daniel. I always feel bad because, like, growing up, you were so close to your first cousins, but I was never close to mine because I was so much younger than them. Oh, well.
Sorry.
Another thing you
It's
failed
all
at,
her
Mom.
fault. She did it. She's a bad
My
parent.
cousins were an important part of my life.
Yeah.
So I was literally sorry that you didn't have that.
Well, I mean, but your family was a lot closer in age, too, and your cousins were all very closely in age-wise. Like, you have 5 or 6 cousins within a 3-year age range of, I think.
But you did get to know your cousins. Even
Yeah,
though
yeah.
we're older because we always had the family reunions at the lake.
Yeah. And Nelda, your next oldest sister, she always had a Christmas Eve party at her house.
We either had it at her house.
Her house
or
or the
ours.
lake house. Yeah. Good times. Well, this is actually a good segue. Do we want to transition out?
Sure.
Segue? Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll explain why this is a good segue in a moment. But for all 4 of our listeners, if you have any funny stories about your kids,
If you need some bad parenting advice, or if you have anything that you want us to discuss topic-wise,
yeah, email us at guidetopoorparenting@gmail.com. And we'll try and get some stories out. And if we ever figure out freaking Patreon, maybe we'll do something like that. But the reason I said it was a good transition is that both Jennifer and my mom have been pushing their microphones away so they can eat. Because we decided, for some reason, we decided to do chips and salsa.
chips. Crunchy, crunchy, crunchy.
Even
Salsa's
before,
good,
before we started, my mom's like, "Why did you do it? Like, how am I supposed to eat a chip with a microphone right in my face?" I'm like, "I don't know."
chips and salsa and margaritas just go well
That's right.
together.
Darn
That's
it.
why. So sorry about any crunching that you might have heard.
Oh, that's funny. All right, Mom. Well, it is, now that we've had our snacks, it's story time. Do you have any good...
Think of one?
Could you, if you don't have any good stories about us, would you tell the outhouse story? Because that is my favorite story. And if you have a funny stories about us, I'll tell it, and I'll tell the outhouse story because it just cracks me up. Have you heard the outhouse story?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know this one. I know the cruise story.
I was not even alive. This happened at my grandparents. No indoor toilet. Go outdoor to outhouse.
And this would have been probably late 30s if you weren't born yet, too. And it was...
I may have been a baby. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But my sister, Glenda, a young girl, and every mother always made sure that we had a new outfit to wear to church. And so they had on the very best for Sunday to go to the lake outhouse. They went to the outhouse together, and the thing fell in.
Oh
And Glenda got out quicker and started running to the house, crying and screaming
And left poor Nelda in the cesspit.
no! Oh gosh! Oh my goodness! Yes.
Every time I think about that, it just cracks. I'm sure it was traumatizing for Nelda and Glenda, but it just like cracks me up.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
nasty, but it's funny.
Nasty.
Yeah. And to know that they're in their Easter bats too, because yeah, mom was probably mad.
I was about to say, do you remember?
Well, I mean, like, they wouldn't have. It's not like they did anything
Well,
bad.
it's not
The
like
floor
I'm
collapsed.
not
Yeah.
going to get in trouble over it, but I'm sure it was.
And I'm sure it was like they didn't have hoses, so they would have had to go into the well and pump the well and
Just splashed them with the bucket.
yes. Oh, God, you can imagine.
That was the equivalent of hosing them outside, was splashing them with a bucket, or just throw them in the well.
Yeah.
Do you remember that house at all?
No, I don't. I really don't remember too much
No,
about.
you probably weren't born, but some of the stories about you, I remember the climbing and jumping and just breaking bones.
Do you remember how many bones I've broken over the years?
How many?
Do you remember?
5 or 6 at least. 8.
Well, because I broke a few of my feet, so that's why.
But you jumped over the tennis. That's a parenting advice. Don't give your kids lessons. Or when you do, make sure they are smart enough to not try to jump over the fence. The
Tennis court or the tennis
Tennis.
net. Yeah.
net.
Do you know about that?
No, you try to jump over the tennis net?
Oh, I used to do because I took tennis for like 8-9 years.
Right.
And I would jump over the tennis net. I would run and jump over it. I did it all the time. But this one time I jumped and my back foot caught. And then my right foot landed funny and it just folded in half. And so the foot just started swelling. Like they had to call mom and dad. Like the tennis instructor had to call mom and dad because it looked fit to burst. It was so swollen.
Ew.
But I think the tendon popped off the end of my bone. So I had to have surgery to get the bone fragments out.
I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
I know about arm.
High school. was an
At the
adventure.
lake, I don't remember the bones of the lake. You had
I broke my foot at the lake.
Yeah.
And we think that's maybe what caused my my necrosis in my hip when I jumped off the balcony. I just told you about it recently when I jumped off the balcony and was trying to hit the couch and I hit the concrete floor and broke my feet.
That's why I was giggling because you just
You
told
weren't
the
there.
story.
I was in college at the time.
He was having a party at the house, at the lake house.
So me and a couple of friends were at the lake house and I had a little alcohol and I jumped off the balcony. I was trying to hit the couch and I missed it. Hit the floor and
oh my gosh.
broke my foot.
Did you go have an X-ray?
Yeah, I had to. Well, I was just like, oh, that hurt a lot. So we were just like, okay, I can't do it. So we tried to go to bed, and I woke up in the middle of the night, my swollen in agony. So my friend to the doctor, cold spray, broke my foot.
Well, what I remember about the lake was we had a lake house that my husband's brother built themselves in Houston. Go up every day work on. It was a neat house.
Yeah,
At least we were living in it long before.
yeah, they did everything. They didn't do the brick, but like they did. I don't think they did roofing, but they framed it, they sheetrocked it, put the popcorn ceiling up, and everything.
The only thing they hired was foundation.
The brickwork.
The brickwork. Anyway, one Christmas we got Jason, Kyle,
The dirt bike. Yeah.
and they loved riding they got in a lot more trouble. Knew about then.
Found out later in life.
We heard enough. But the funniest one was Jason zooming down the road, and he parked his three-wheeler. The lake was on a hill, so he had to slant down to the lake, and he had climbed off the bike, left it and put it in park, I guess. But the bike started rolling down toward the lake. And he saw what was happening and started chasing it down the hill.
Oh, Lord.
Stop.
I wish it was just stop. I was like, I'll be your best friend. Or I was trying to negotiate with it to stop.
Bargaining with the bike.
I mean, I'm probably like 9 or 10. It was, ugh.
Did you get to it before it got in the water?
It hit the rocks and boom, right into the water.
Oh, goodness.
It luckily, like the right where it landed wasn't super deep, so they were able to get it out. Dad was able to fix it, but God.
That taught you to put your car in park, though.
I never did it again.
There you go.
Although I almost did kill myself one time.
I'm sure.
There was the road. There was a spot like it kind of fell off on either side, like 4 or 5 feet. It's kind of like a hump on either side.
Okay.
And there was a little, like a
Creek.
kind of a creek. Yeah, it was like rain water would go through. But there was this one spot where you could go through a field, hit the side of the road, and jump and kind of like get a little airborne. And then you just, if you turned to the right, you would be on road. But if you didn't aim it right, you would go off the other side of the road into a pool of water.
So you just jumped completely over that little...
I didn't turn. But we, like, this is, I'm not, like, we did this for ages. We did this all the time. And it's just one time I missed it. And...
Just like the tennis net.
Yep.
Well,
Just don't
he
do the
landed
things.
in the water with a bike on top of it.
Oh, goodness.
Yep.
you
The
break
handlebar
anything
pushing
there?
me down in, too. Luckily, I was able to, like, move my head and get out from underneath. But it panicked me because I couldn't get out. And Kyle and our friends ran back to the house to go get Mom and Dad because I was pinned.
Did you break anything that time?
No. But it was winter time too, so that water was cold.
Ooh.
That winter was very cold.
Oh, goodness.
I think by the time y'all arrived, I was actually gotten myself out.
I think so.
But yeah, it was
Still scary.
I was frozen and scared.
Yeah.
I don't know how I survived. So dumb.
I love how all your stories is, I was doing it a lot, and it was just that one time.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's my life, unfortunately. Oh, Lord. Any other good stories, Mom?
I'm thinking.
I mean, you've already done 3, so I think we're good if you call it quits there.
I haven't.
Well,
Oh, you have to
You have
listen
to
to the
you have to
podcast.
listen to the podcast. We'll tell you some good ones.
Yeah, we'll tell you some good
Yeah.
ones.
Well, what did you think, Mom? Was this fun? Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Good.
It was.
Yay.
Was the torture worth it?
It wasn't.
All that begging.
That's right.
How much do we owe her now? I can't remember what the total was after we figured it
I
out.
don't know. I'm already cooking dinner for her on Wednesday, so.
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you all 4 of our listeners to listening to another episode of A Guide to Poor Parenting.
If you like our podcast, please give us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on.
If you don't like our podcast, just like we tell our kids when they complain about us eating their Halloween candy.
Tough shit.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Mom.
Bye.